It's Thursday, 1 February. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, a cash-strapped Ukraine is finally getting their coffers replenished after the EU approved a long-delayed €50 billion aid package. Also, we'll shed some light on the ongoing conflict in Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, between the Junta regime and opposition forces, and where things stand in that mysterious country as we pass the 3-year anniversary of the military junta's violent 2021 coup. But first, our afternoon spotlight. Leaders of the European Union announced Thursday that after months of delays, they've approved a €50 billion aid package for Ukraine. Now that's roughly $54 billion if my math is correct. The vote was unanimous between all 27 EU members, including Hungary, which had been blocking the aid package since the fall. Ahead of Thursday's summit, EU members had reportedly upped the pressure on Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who maintains close ties with Russian President Vladimir Putin, to pick a side, according to a Reuters report. The announcement, which came less than 2 hours into Thursday's summit, surprised many observers who had feared a protracted confrontation with Hungary over the package. Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, said, quote, "Today, Europe is stronger. We reconfirmed our unwavering support to Ukraine. We will continue to support the brave Ukrainian armed forces," end quote. Officials with Ukraine's economic ministry said they expected the first round of new funds in March. Ukrainian President Zelensky praised the EU's action, saying it would bring much-needed relief and stability to his war-torn country as they continue their efforts to repel Putin's invasion. Zelensky said on Thursday, quote, "It sends a strong signal that Ukraine will withstand any challenges, as will Europe. Europe is sending a signal across the Atlantic and around the world that the international rules-based world order will endure challenges. Europe sets the tone for global affairs through its unity," end quote. The funds will help Ukraine pay pensions, salaries, and other costs over the next 4 years. Officials said the deal includes a yearly discussion of the package and the option to review it in 2 years if needed. Orbán had advocated a yearly vote on the package, which would have left the funding open to an annual veto threat from Hungary. The EU was eager to lock in the funding long-term to give Ukraine greater flexibility and certainty as the war enters its 3rd year. Notably, EU members did not commit to unfreezing billions of euros of funds intended for Hungary, which Orbán had been seeking in exchange for his support. Some 20 billion euros of funds for Hungary remain frozen over EU concerns regarding the erosion of human rights and democratic norms under Orbán's leadership. An unnamed German diplomat told Reuters that Orbán had grown uncomfortable as the only outlier in the EU opposing the continued support of Ukraine. The diplomat, who spoke under condition of anonymity, told Reuters, quote, "The Hungarian economy is under pressure. That might have helped as well. Orbán knows that he needs the EU." Now, EU leaders will focus at this point on the issue of greater military aid for Kyiv. Meanwhile, across the pond, a roughly $60 billion aid package from the U.S., Ukraine's largest military backer, remains tied up in a deadlocked and somewhat dysfunctional Congress. All right, coming up after the break, we'll discuss the ongoing conflict in Myanmar between the military junta regime and opposition forces, and where things stand as we pass the 3-year anniversary of the junta's violent 2021 coup. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. I want to turn our focus to a country that seems to receive very little attention, but has been shrouded in mystery and frankly steeped in conflict for generations. I'm talking about Myanmar, formerly known as Burma. The country is now marking the 3-year anniversary of a violent military coup in 2021 that put an end to democracy and reform efforts and installed a junta. To mark the occasion on Wednesday, the U.S. government announced a new batch of sanctions against 2 entities and several people associated with the military junta. The sanctions are reportedly targeting arms production and the fuel that the junta uses for bombings in their internal war against anti-coup forces, according to a report from Reuters. The ongoing conflict within Myanmar's borders has largely impacted the civilian community. Since the military seized power in the 2021 coup, plunging the country into chaos, it's estimated that more than 1,700 civilians, including children, have been killed by junta forces, and nearly 10,000 have been swept up in arrests, and it's estimated roughly 2.3 million have been displaced by the violence. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said in a statement Wednesday, quote, "We are taking this action to target the regime's sources of revenue which support military activities against civilians," end quote. The U.S. Treasury Department said the companies targeted by the sanctions have imported petroleum on behalf of the junta and facilitated shipments of materials used for the manufacturing of weapons for their military. They noted that the targeted companies also have a profit-sharing relationship with a military conglomerate run by the junta and have aided in the purchase of foreign currency. Brian Nelson, an official with the U.S. Treasury Department, said Wednesday, quote, "The United States, along with our allies and partners, will continue to hold accountable those who seek to profit from and provide support for the violent oppression of the people of Burma," or Myanmar. The current junta regime seized power in the early morning hours of February 1, 2021, imprisoning the democratically elected leaders and effectively ending more than a decade of democratic rule marked by economic and social reforms. While the junta have since maintained a delicate hold on power, the regime is facing increasing pressure after a series of embarrassing military defeats against anti-coup forces since October of 2023, which have seen the junta lose control of at least 35 towns. The victories of the anti-coup militias reportedly stunned junta leaders, and calls are growing, even among hardline pro-military leaders, for the junta chief to step down. The junta is opposed by ethnic minority armies and militias, who have reportedly formed a shadow government and began a coordinated campaign against the junta in October of this past year. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Thursday, 1 February. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.